which is fitting because the NBA season tips off tonight. I am your host, Andy Ocean, as always joined by the smoothest man on the planet, Losty Mix. How you living on this beautiful NBA tip-off?
Well, first off, as the folks who are watching can see, it's Lake Show all day, every day. My man. I'm doing blessed. How are you doing, man? I'm another day, another dollar, ready for the season to kick off. I just drafted my fantasy basketball team yesterday, which I shared with you. I can tell you right now, I know this is a fantasy network, so I guess this kind of fits in a way, but I know we mostly cover fantasy football for the most part. But for those who maybe like a little fantasy basketball, I'm gonna tell you right now, this team I drafted last night.
It's
First,
legit.
if this is the first year, this is the third season of this league. This is the first year I do not have LeBron James, so I was already bummed about that. But I can tell you right now, I got Jason Tatum, I got Paul George, I got De'Aaron Fox, I got DeMar DeRozan, I got Paolo Banchero, the number one overall pick. I got Alfred Sagoon, the center from Houston, who might be good. KPJ, his running mate. I got some ballers on here. Spencer Dinwiddie, who might be a steal. So it's a head-to-head points weekly matchup. So it'll go from now all the way until like early April, and then the playoffs will start. So we'll keep folks. Well, no, the playoffs start in late March and in early April.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you sent me your roster last night. And again, I know I'm a Mavs fan, but let me tell you, like, if Spencer Dinwiddie can like get out of this shooting slump that he's been in the preseason, it can be Luca's like legit too. Like that on top of Jason Tatum, on top of Paul George, like that could be a pretty solid three guard combo for your team that can do some damage.
I think so. I don't know if this is weird or not, but I did create like a draft strategy
Okay.
for this because I don't know. I thought coming off the football fantasy football season, I drafted. I feel like I drafted pretty well across my five leagues. In that, I'm like this week is like the first week I've made a trade across any league of mine, and so like, and even in that, I only did it. It was more so like a depth trade. I was really trying to get more depth. So I
Hmm.
feel like because I was able to use a draft strategy and draft pretty well, I wanted to translate that over to basketball. So my first pick was Jason Tatum. I had number four overall. Of course, Jokic, Giannis, Luca, unanimous number three. I mean, top
Yep.
three. They're going to be off the board. So I had four, and the world was my oyster. Could have went Joel Embiid, which I thought about. But I thought about it and I was like, yo, who's more likely? And this is what literally it came down to. Who's more likely to get sat out of just pure rest? Like, who's more likely to just miss a game out of pure rest? And I was like, Joel Embiid.
Joel.
So I
So
was
who else
like,
was on the board other than so Kevin Durant was on the board,
my
LeBron was
brother,
on the
my
board,
brother. The
AD
only
was on the
people that
board.
were off the board were Jokic, Giannis, and Luca. Every other NBA player was on the board.
So you I think this is a little bit of foreshadowing because we're talking about MVP later in our NBA preview. It sounds like we know who you think is going to be the MVP or in the MVP conversation this year.
I think I have a couple people who I think are going to be in the MVP conversation,
Okay.
hopefully, and hopefully I have two of them on my team. But I took Jason Tatum first, then in my second round pick, I wanted someone who I knew just gets easy buckets, and so they get so many easy buckets that they just get other people involved, or they just get easy buckets. And I thought about it, king of the mid range,
Yeah.
king of the mid range. So I said, all right, let me get DeMar DeRozan. So my third round pick, I was getting ready to go Evan Mobley because I was like, if I get no, it was either Evan Mobley or Steph Curry if they were both available, and neither one were available because I either wanted to get like a scoring point guard like Steph
Mhm.
or like a versatile big man who just did it all, and Evan Mobley. And they randomly both went like in the five mock drafts that I did, they were on the board, but for some reason for some reason, when I actually drafted, of course, they go off. And so I end up taking Paul George. And then I think about it and I look at my roster and I'm like, yo, I got Jason Tatum, DeMar DeRozan, and Paul George. That's like elite wings right there. Let me just
Yep.
build it from them.
Here you are.
Here we are. Here we are. My brother, let the people. Do you want to let the people know what we're chatting about today before we really get into it?
Yeah, let's do a little housekeeping, then we'll do a little preview. As always, this show is brought to you by goingfor2.com. Head over to goingfor2.com for all your fantasy needs. Like we said, basketball is back. We are knee deep in football season. Things are starting to heat up. We're getting on bye weeks. You're gonna need people on the waiver wire. So head over to Going for Two for all your needs. Shout out to Gator J in the chat. He says he's here for more shit talking. And then to your fantasy basketball, he said you got the fourth pick. Who was the commish? And I think he is trying to say there has to be some kind of collusion because you always seem to get a great pick in no matter what draft you're participating in.
Well, okay, it's funny that you mentioned that, Gary J, because this is the first time I actually used the ESPN randomizer. Uh,
Okay.
and so I used the randomizer and got fourth, and I was like, oh man. I will be. I mean, I've had six drafts. I've gotten three, four, six, eight.
Everything just coming up D.
Hey, it's not about it's not where you pick, it's how you pick.
But it also helps if you get a top five pick. So tonight we're going to talk about,
Yeah,
we're
the
going to
top.
recap.
Okay, but hold on. I only have one undefeated fantasy football team left, and not a team that picked in the top five in any of the drafts. It was the only team that picked from eight.
Interesting. Interesting.
So
Okay. I hear you. But tonight we're going to focus on NFL Week 6. We're going to talk about some winners, some losers. We're going to talk about the NFL trade deadline. Like we said, the NBA is back. We're going to give our preview on who we think the best teams will be, a finals preview, MVP, all that good stuff. We're going to do our daily fantasy talk. We're going to do some quick hitters. We're going to do some college football. Yeah, and we got a question this week, so we're going to take the last segment to answer your question. So D, like, what happened week 6 in the NFL?
man, week six in the NFL, man, it did not disappoint, but it started off on a disappointment, if that makes sense. It was a stinker on Thursday night. We had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks on Sunday. On Sunday, actually get embarrassed in Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. We saw the Bills outlast the Chiefs in another very, very close matchup in what a lot of people are saying is the new Brady versus Manning. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, sir.
They are still the last undefeated team in the NFL. And we saw another NFL player get escorted from the sideline. Little, not like Antonio Brown, but Robbie Anderson. Now you're a Philadelphia. I mean, not Philadelphia. Now you're an Arizona Cardinal. So I want to go back to the Bills and the Chiefs, though, in particular, since that was
Yes.
clearly the game of the week. That was clearly, I think. Well, I think a lot of football experts say that was the two top teams in the NFL going at it. And so I want to ask you, when you look at that Bills victory in Kansas City, and when you look at what your Philadelphia Eagles are doing,
Yes.
remaining the last undefeated team in the league, no losses on them things.
None.
What do you think is really more impressive victory wise? The Bills and what they're able to do and some of their wins, or you guys sitting there at 6-0?
So I think for me, it is. So last year, the Bills went to Kansas City during the regular season and beat them. So we've seen that before. For us, the Bills is going to come into, like, what do they do in the playoffs when they have to go? Potentially, well, this year, theoretically, the AFC Championship game would be held in Buffalo and not in Kansas City, which would give Buffalo the advantage because Patrick Mahomes has never played a playoff game outside of Arrowhead. That's not the Super Bowl. So I think we've seen the Bills do it before, but can the Bills do it in the playoffs at the Super Bowl or playoff advancement on the line? For me, it's the Eagles, and this might be kind of biased. And I said last week I was going to be very reserved. I have not been boastful. I wanted to see how we played this defense,
Here
and
we
the
go.
Eagles, took that piece of shit elite defense
Here we go.
and ripped that shit to shreds. Because all I heard was, "Oh, the Cowboys have never haven't allowed any double digit touchdowns, and we scored 3 of them things on their throat." I don't care how this sounds; it can't be sound worse than Chris Collinsworth when he was talking about Landon Dickinson pulling the other night. Um, I really enjoyed the game plan of using Micah Parsons' aggressiveness against him. Do not block him. Let him make a decision, and then he's going to pay regardless. If he crashes down on Jalen, you had A.J. Brown running in the flat wide open by himself. If he goes with A.J. Brown, Jalen has a lane wide open by himself. If the Cowboys rolled over a safety, Devontae Smith could slip behind that safety, which happened on that touchdown. It was such a genius offensive game plan. Micah, you're aggressive. That's cool. We're going to use that aggressiveness against you. And let's be honest, Micah lucky Lane Johnson went out with a concussion because in the first half, Lane had that boy in cuffs. Lane had that boy like police officers in
Cuffs.
Ohio. He had that boy in cuffs. Micah didn't make any noise in the first half. And then Lane went out with a concussion. And then Micah started to kind of get a little busy. And the Eagles adjusted their offense again to help with the run game. When I tell you, and I went on Instagram and said that the Cowboys are frauds because I think they are frauds to a degree. Dak's going to make a difference.
So you do not believe they are, in fact, them boys?
They are not. No. I will say this, though, because I don't want to be completely like a homer. Like Dak makes that throw to CD on the post that gets picked off by Chauncey Gardner to like essentially end the game. Dak can make that throw, and I don't think Cooper Rush can. So that and that's going to make a difference come Christmas Eve and the rest of the Cowboy season. Dak can make throws that Cooper Rush can only dream of, and Dak completes that throw, that post, and maybe CD scores, and maybe the game gets a little bit more interesting. For me, it was, and Shannon Sharp said this, Cooper Rush gives you 2 good drives a game, and he did. He gave him a 75-yard drive. He gave him a 93-yard drive, and then he turned into the pumpkin. The thing I was most impressed about, it was 20-17, beginning of the fourth. It was at the third or the fourth. I think it was in the third, and the Eagles put together a 7-minute drive that was like 15 plays. It was in the 7 minutes of clock, right? And we talk about, and I'm going to stop in a second. We talk about how powerful it is to have a 2-minute offense, a 4-minute offense. I think it's something to be said when you have a team that can put an offensive drive together that can eat a quarter of a clock, like a quarter of a third of a quarter is what I'm trying to say. 5, 6 minutes, 7-minute drives to take the momentum
offense to help your defense.
Yes, like to give your defense a break and to take momentum. That's the third time this year this Eagles team has done that. I think it was 13 plays. 10 of those plays were runs. Like there's something to be said about our offensive line is going to throw you in the dirt. We're going to run it. We're going to eat this clock, and we're going to try to kill the chances of you coming back. So the Cowboys are a good team. I don't want to make it sound like I think they're scrubs. I think when Dak gets back, he can make throws that Cooper Rush can't. I will say that this defense, I don't know if the Eagles have given the league a blueprint on how to, deal with Micah Parsons, but the Eagles have Lane Johnson. He's the best tackle in football. That also helps. But if you don't have that, leave him unblocked, run some read option, make him pick his poison, and you can score on this offense and hope you get into a shootout and they can't keep up.
So I guess with that, the next time the Cowboys and the Eagles play is, you said, Christmas Eve?
Yep.
So there's a lot of football to be played. You have to imagine that both you and the Cowboys will at least drop 1, 2, maybe 3 trap games, just given
perhaps
the nature.
And here's my thing, and this is the last thing. I'm sorry, what were you saying? My bad.
No, I was just saying in the ebbs and flows of the NFL season, you're just bound to, down weeks where your offense and team just doesn't show up, and
I honestly think we're either going to lose to Pittsburgh or Houston. So we're on a bye this week, and then we play Pittsburgh, and then we play the Thursday night in Houston. And I hate Thursday night football games. I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles lost to Houston, and that'd be their first loss. Because Houston's a scrappy team, but again, the Thursday night games are really detrimental, and the team that has to travel for a Thursday night game traditionally has not done well. I know the Commanders won in Chicago Thursday. That's an anomaly. I think it's harder for the team that has to travel.
I agree, especially if they're traveling time zones.
Yeah. I do
So
have I
go
have
ahead.
one more thing about the Cowboys though. So last year the Cowboys had, and I did some digging today because I was really interested. Last year the Cowboys had the number one offense in the league. That's because the turnover differential, right? Like they were plus 14 in turnovers. Trayvon Diggs gave that offense a lot of short fields. Now they're regressing back to the mean. So I'm very intrigued to see how Dak looks when he has to start drives consistently at his 20, his 25, his 30 compared to he's already at the 50, he's already at the 40, he's already at
Right.
the opponent's 35 because the
Right.
defense generated a turnover. And the Eagles are benefiting from that this year, right? They are plus 12 in turnover margin. Jalen's getting a lot of short fields. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see how this Cowboys offense looks with Dak, without Amari, with Dalton Schultz, but with longer fields. So the field position actually becoming an issue.
I'm glad you had that note in there about without Amari. NFL teams recognize good wide receivers are good wide receivers. And you should keep them or go out and get more of them,
Yes.
not just trade them and then just draft a bunch of rookies. To the question though about the more impressive victory, I have to go with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you go into a place that last time you was there, you know, we know what happened. We've seen we've seen the playoff history that Buffalo has had to Kansas City. Their only two playoff losses the last couple of years have been to Kansas City, if I'm correct.
I believe
Clearly,
you're right.
Kansas City is the team that Buffalo feels that they have to go through in order to get to the Super Bowl and potentially win it. I feel like. So, with that being said, going to Kansas City, which it feels like these games are always being played, um, to go to Kansas City and get a very, very, very good win against a very good football team, you have to consider it impressive. My only fear for the Buffalo Bills is Josh. Like, I want to be able to make sure Josh Allen can hold up. You see, he runs aggressively. Like,
Dog, he runs like a
yo,
fullback.
Josh Allen be kind of wanting to run you over. Pause.
Yeah.
So I just want to ensure that that running style is be able to obviously hold up with his skill and his knowledge and his arm strength. But I mean, it reminds me of like Cam Newton, It's just like it's just
Yeah.
hard to stop. Like nobody really wants to tackle him. My other worry for the Buffalo Bills is they play in a division that's low key better than a lot of people wants to give it credit for.
Yes.
And outside of the when you have uh, a very very fast team that's very hard to cover in Miami. You have a young and up and coming hungry team that's good in the trenches in the Jets and to an extent the Patriots as well. But the Patriots their key is their head coach is their best def- almost essentially their best defender because he's able to game plan and take your best defensive player away. I don't know if the Bills and the Patriots have played yet this season. I don't think they
I don't
have.
think so. Let me check.
But you can imagine what I'm trying to get at here is that between the Eagles, who's also in a very challenging division, I think they hold the keys over their divisional opponents maybe a smidge more than I think Buffalo does actually. And I think the, where Buffalo might end up struggling is divisional opponents and interconference opponents because I feel like they still have a few more interconference
Mhm.
games to play. And I think the rest of the league knows, and Buffalo knows that they're going to get the best of everyone. And you saw that with Kansas City, and you saw that with Miami, and I mean you've seen that with everyone they played. They have gotten the best, and I think if you have to ask me between Kansas City and Buffalo, who is going to end up with maybe 4, 5, 6 losses, and the other one's going to end up with 4 losses, I would say Kansas City is likely to end up with uh, less losses on the record, with more wins on the record, I should say, just because they play in a division where, I mean,
Yeah.
when the Chiefs and Broncos play, it is going to be embarrassing. When the Chiefs and the Raiders play, I think it's going to be competitive. Well, no, we saw what happened. It was competitive for a half, and then we saw what happened. And obviously, we know the Chargers are going to be the Chargers. So I don't really have confidence. So you have to say that the Kansas City Chiefs might lose one divisional game this season. I would say
Yeah.
the Bills might lose two. That's the difference, and that's what I think the difference might come down to.
So you think the Chiefs are going to get the 1 seed in the AFC? The Arrowhead Invitational lives on.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's people. Yo, in football, professional football especially, coaching matters. Yo, coaching matters.
Yes.
And you guys really need to see how Andy Reid, how good of a coach he is. Sean McDermott's a hell of a coach too. He needs to get his credit, but you guys, when these AFC West divisional games are going on, I mean, you can just see how Andy Reid is really just kind of out coaching his opponents, and that's why I say when the Broncos and Chiefs play, it's not going to be fun. Um, who had the most embarrassing loss of the week?
I'm sorry to do this to you, but it's the Packers.
Mo, I might be right there with you.
I just, and the fact, and this is not like I'm not here to like kick you while you're down because I'm not that kind of guy. But the fact that Sauce Gardner was walking around with a cheese head after the game was just, I think Alan Lazard walked by and smacked it off his head.
Yes, he did.
But,
Yes, he
Alan, you might have to steal on him next time. Like, you might have to, because that can't
did.
happen. Like,
Won't
Sauce
be
was
won't be for another 8 years.
like Sauce. I mean, Sauce will still be in the league in 8 years. Hopefully he'll still be with the Jets. But yeah, for me, I was going to say Arizona losing to Seattle, but I don't think Arizona's a good team. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a couple of losses away from getting fired. So for me, it was definitely the Packers.
Kyle, if you're in here, you might want to join me. I have a couple teams I want to throw right here: the Green Bay Packers, the Denver Broncos, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm gonna pick all three of you apart one by one. Let's start with the team up north in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay, so you trade your best offensive player and offensive position player in Devontae Adams, and that's cool because you want to then lean into the running game more. You draft two rookies. You want to lead into the running game more. Use that, feed these rookies. You sign Sammy Watkins, a few other veterans. You want to lean into that more. You want to lean on your defense. You say you got a lot of defensive talent that you think can really take the league by storm. And on paper, you look at this defense, you say, "Oh man, this is a great defense." But then you watch the actual film out there. Sorry, this looks pathetic. This product that the Green Bay Packers is currently putting on the field is not good. It looks like it looks like it's a mixture of quarterback problems. Looks like it's a mixture of receivers not being able to get separation, offensive schemes feeling like they're a little compromised. We're out there with an offense with Runyon who couldn't guard
It's
a
okay.
movie ticket stand. I mean, like it was embarrassing. It is embarrassing what is going on in Green Bay right now. This is a good football team that is not playing very well. It is not playing very well. The Denver Broncos. Let's go to them. Every week I say, man, it feels like Coach Hackett is in over his head. And then I catch myself and I say, yo, that's not fair to him. It's only X amount of weeks. But then the next week I'm saying the same thing and I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. We're on week 6.
6.
We're about to go on week 7. Nathaniel Hackett, dog. You may not make it to the end of the season. Are we here?
I think we're here.
Is this thing on? Am I heard?
I think we can hear you.
Yo, Nathaniel Hackett, you might not make it, yo. Like, yo, it is everything's bad in Denver. I can't even pinpoint. Like, well, not the defense. I'll give the defense that. The defense is the only saving grace.
15 points a game.
The
You
only
should win a lot of football games if you can hold someone to 15 points a game.
it, yo, the Broncos are bad at everything. Like every it's man, and I'm trying to give Nathaniel Hackett a lot of grace because he was our OC, but everything. Russ, you're lucky weed is legal in Denver because some folks might be. When do you want to say he's stealing money?
Well, we can say that now.
Do you feel that way? Is he stealing money?
Mr. Unlimited has.
Yo, Mister Unlimited. What are we unlimiting? What are we?
We still got like 3 or 4 more primetime Broncos games too.
Why versus who?
Hold on. I remember
I know
seeing the
one
other
of them
day.
has to be Kansas City.
Yeah, let me look that up while you go talk about the Bucks.
The last team that's been embarrassing, Tampa Bay. Tom Brady, man, dog. And so Brady, whatever's going on in Tampa, I'm trying to show a little bit of grace here because that's Brady. It just feels like the Bucks are a step behind offensively. And I get it. They've had players who've been in and out with health and being away from the team. But the Bucks just feel like they're a step behind. And to lose to the struggling Steelers, whoo, man. Hey, but I'll tell you what. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got punched in the fucking mouth last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. And you guys showed up against a very reeling but good football team in Tampa with Tom Brady. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to give them credit. But whoa, what the hell is going on? What's going on in football cities that end in Bay? Because it's not very good. It's not very good football being produced and put on the field. Isn't that what Brady said? A lot of stinky football, a lot of ass. A lot of ass.
Lots of ass.
What do we trade Devontae Adams for if this is where we're going to take the culture? I don't understand it. Can't nobody get open? Royce Newman, what was that at the right guard position? This is bad. Kyle said, running is usually pretty good, so that was surprising to see him struggle. Royce Newman, however, he played as bad as he expected. They need another right guard. Yeah. We need to figure it the fuck out. The Vikings are not a better football team than us, but they're a better football team than us, if that makes sense.
It does.
Staying in the NFL, we're getting close to the trade deadline, my friend.
Yes.
We are getting close to the trade deadline. One trade we already saw was a result of my man Robbie Anderson acting, he intentionally got himself fired. Let's just call it like that. He intentionally got himself fired. Robbie Anderson, former wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, obviously was getting into an argument or a sideline dispute with wide receivers coach. He is now, after being escorted off the field on Sunday, he was now traded to the Cardinals after Hollywood Brown suffered a season-long foot injury. They also have D-Hop, who's coming off an injured or his 6-game suspension this week, so he'll be eligible to play Thursday versus the Saints. With that being said, let's go back to the trade deadline.
Yep.
Who do you think is going to pull the trigger or pull the lever and make the big splash trade of the NFL season?
So before we jump into that, I do want to say, Gator, we're not here to pick on you. The show loves you.
We do got much love for you, Gator J.
It's just a rough time. So I know all eyes on Carolina. I know all eyes on Christian McCaffrey. But for me, the trade that I would love to see happen is I would love to see DJ Moore get traded to Green Bay, Kansas City, or Baltimore. And I know Baltimore just signed Deshaun Jackson. I don't care. Like if I can get my hands on DJ Moore, pause, and I'm Baltimore, Rashad Bateman, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews. That's a nice little something for Lamar to build on. Kansas City can just add to the You're gonna need somebody, right? The Bills have Stephon Diggs. Not just saying that DJ's on Stephon's level, but Travis Kelsey, Stephon Diggs, Juju. That's not a bad combination. And then Green Bay. I think a receiver like DJ Moore with Aaron Rodgers, like that's the missing piece, right? Like that's what's going to elevate quick passes. DJ Moore will help cover some bad offensive line play. It'll also open up a lot of stuff for Allen Lazard. Like I'd love to see DJ Moore in Green Bay.
I have another trade to Green Bay. I don't know if we're really going to be via trade or maybe a signing, but I like Odell Beckham Jr. to Green Bay.
Okay.
I think what we need is someone who's shifty, someone who's able to really provide a lot of catch and run opportunity, which I think Odell can do, as well as stretch the field, which Devontae could do. So I think Odell can fit that role. I saw Gator J in the chat said something that I think could be interesting. San Fran trading for Christian McCaffrey. Let me tell you something. If I'm Christian McCaffrey, I don't want to go there.
Why not?
Look at the history of soft tissue injuries they have this year.
Okay.
That is a indicator that something is being overworked or not properly warmed up enough to be worked. And that's more of a training issue. If you look at a lot of their injuries over the Kyle Shanahan era, that's really been the reason why they haven't been able to separate themselves and get over the hump. They've always been injured. Well, you look into it, what are these injuries? They've either had season-ending injuries or they've had soft tissue injuries. Some of these soft tissue injuries may be leading to some of these season-ending injuries. And then you maybe need to look into that and maybe say, hey, maybe the way they're preparing these athletes on a week-to-week basis maybe isn't the best. Not saying that that's necessarily true. Injuries are part of the game, but it's just interesting. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting how these injuries keep piling up. If I'm CMC, I'm already injury ridden over the last couple of years. I'm trying to get back to my prime years to justify the salary cap or a salary hit that my contract's going to take.
So where would you like to see CMC? Because that salary is going to be hard to move. Like Buffalo's going to be hard because Josh Allen is eating a lot of money and so is Stephon Diggs.
You know, I see CMC. I can see the Rams making a potential trade package for CMC, giving Cam Akers opportunity. Maybe a CMC and another pick. Cam Akers and another pick for CMC could be something potentially I could see. You know, another option I saw, and this is unrelated to the Rams, Chase Claypool to Green Bay. I don't know if that's where.
Yes, I would take that. I would take that if I was Green. Like Chase Claypool's still good.
If the goal is to get more veteran wide receivers in to help learn what Aaron likes and doesn't sort of like in the route running and the route tree and the offense, why a younger wide receiver in Chase Claypool that you might have to do a little bit more fine tuning and finessing?
Chase has been in the league for a minute. This is like year 4 for him, right?
It's probably year 4 or 5.
Yeah, like he's on the verge of a contract. I think he's been in the league long enough to like understand. Hold on, let's see. What year is this? Yeah, he was drafted in 2020. Listen, all I know is Pittsburgh Steelers do one thing extremely well, and that is draft wide receivers. That is their thing. Like there's no team in the league that's better than drafting and developing a wide receiver than Pittsburgh.
So here's something that's interesting in the chat in regards to trade. So the B League says,
"What's up, Dan?
What's up, Dan?" He says, Claypool to Dallas. Get him on the outside. Him and CD Lamb have that real big play ability. And I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think of a Chase Claypool to the Dallas Cowboys situation there?
It's weird that Dan is saying this because Dan is a Giants fan. Dan, pop your shit off, man. You're 5-1. But in regards from like that'd be a great trade. I would not like that as an Eagles fan, but as a Cowboys fan, you'd have Gallup in the slot, Claypool on one side, CD on the other side, Dalton Schultz. You got Tony Pollard. You got Zeke. Like that. Now we talking.
Now, what about? Now, I'm glad Dan's here. What about Chase Claypool to New York, giving them an option potentially to stretch the field down the field with Daniel Jones? Or do you think that New York feels like once they get some of their wide receivers back healthy, they could already have something potentially?
How about we keep Claypool out of the NFC East? That
Nah.
sounds good to me. That sounds really good to
Well,
me.
you know the
Let's put it.
Steelers would likely trade him to an NFC opponent,
Yeah,
obviously.
trade him to Tampa Bay. Tampa.
Do you think Odell Beckham plays this year?
I do, but I don't think we see Odell till like week 10, 11. Teams that are gearing up for playoff runs. Hey, Odell, holla at us.
And you think Sean McVay said they haven't made the last offer for Odell, by the way.
Okay. Then Sean McVay needs to get off his hands and make Odell an offer. Well, is Odell ready? First of all, when because he just tore it this calendar year. So like when do they think Odell will be healthy enough to play professional football?
I saw Cam Akers tear his Achilles and come back to play later that same, well,
I mean, yeah, that's
that
true.
later that same football season, albeit late in the season. But
That's true.
it's possible. It's possible. All right. So let me ask you something. In a fantasy world, right? What would be your dream scenario trade in the NFL right now? Let me give you an example of mine. I have a dream that the Green Bay Packers call the Cincinnati Bengals and say, "Hey, you got a guy there in T. Higgins. What if we gave you a first, a second, and Christian Watson for
Oh,
T. Higgins?"
let's see. Do you have to pay T. Higgins? Did he? I think T. Higgins hasn't gotten paid yet. See, I think he's probably on the. Yeah, I think T. Higgins. How many years? He's only 23. I mean, yeah. So he signed this season, and then next season, and then after that, he'd be an unrestricted free agency. So you'd probably sign him this offseason. You'd be eligible to give him a contract extension. So yeah, if you're willing to pay him,
A
you think he's worth a
first,
1 and the 2?
a
Would you give
first.
him a 2 and a 3?
No, no, actually, I like this better. Christian Watson, a second and a third for T. Higgins.
Yeah.
I would, if you're Cincinnati, do you think about that deal?
I don't. I would consider it. I would try to push you for first, see how desperate you really were. But I'd probably take a 2 or 3, and I'd be like, give me Alan Lazard instead.
Why? Oh, why Alan Lazard over Christian Watson?
I like Alan Lazard. He's on my fantasy team. He's done okay for
What
me.
about you? What about what's your ideal Eagles trade if you think based off what you're seeing right now?
For me, it's calling the Chicago Bears and asking about Robert Quinn. This pass rush needs just a little bit more juice. Or I call Carolina and ask about Brian Burns. One of those two. Like Brian Burns. I know Brian Burns is going to be almost impossible, but you said the perfect scenario. The Eagles have 2 1s, a couple 3s. Like I think you can make something work. They have some players, but Brian Burns is going to be the reason someone takes that Carolina job. All right, he has 4 sacks on the season. I think they're going to try to keep as many of the young players as they can because that's what's going to attract a head coach. So for
Mhm.
me, in a perfect scenario, it'd be Brian Burns, but you got to pay him because I think he's up for an extension. But if not, I'd say, hey Chicago, I'll give you a 5th for Robert Quinn. What do you say?
So you think in the next coming weeks the Panthers are going to really ship some players?
I
Well, no,
think
the trade deadline soon. So
yeah, the trade deadline is November 1st. Here's the thing about the Panthers. Anyone that's under 25 needs to stay because again, that's what's going to attract a coach, right? So Christian McCaffrey's a little longer in the tooth. He can bounce. How old is DJ Moore?
he's in
DJ
his
Moore's young.
he's in his like fourth or fifth season.
Yeah, DJ Moore's 25. Like I would think about holding on DJ Moore. I would think about holding on to Brian Burns. I would Jeremy Chin. I would definitely hold on to. I know he's hurt. Like I would hold on to Jeremy Chin.
Terrence Marshall Jr. would hold on to the wide receiver.
Yeah, there are some pieces. If I'm the Panthers, we're gonna ride this out. Hopefully, we get the number one pick or number two. We can draft Bryce Young. Like it's a real attractive coach. Hey, we got the number one overall pick or number two. You can draft your quarterback. DJ Moore's here. Yeah, Nick Chubb, not Nick Chubb. What's the dude from Oklahoma State that they drafted? Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, Chuba here. I forget who the main backup is for Christian McCaffrey. You got some defensive
Dante
pieces.
Foreman, I believe.
Yeah, you got Foreman, you got Hubbard, you got a number one overall pick, you got some defensive pieces. Like maybe we can do something. So I don't think Brian's going to get traded because, yeah, I think CMC is most likely to be
I think the
traded. But
Panthers
for
came out
me,
and said he was untradeable by the way.
yeah, I'm sure they did. Right? He's a beast. Like again,
Yeah.
you need something to attract a coach. So for me, realistically, it'd be, hey Chicago, here's a fifth for Robert Quinn.
Let's see. I think they might take him. So Kyle, to my trade offer with the Bengals, he says he doesn't think the Bengals make that move because they're in a win now mode and they wouldn't want to move Higgins. Kyle, you're not wrong there. I don't think they might not want to take that deal either. Gator J's laughing at the fact that I want to trade Christian Watson after 6 weeks. Hey man, you can't take a good wide receiver and not give one back. It's just the way of the trade. Just good business. Speaking of good business, if you can see over my right shoulder right now in the far distance, you can probably see some people running around looking like they're doing some things. That's because the NBA is back.
Let's go.
Yeah, the NBA is back. Kicks off this week. Tonight we have the Sixers and the Celtics who are playing currently behind me, and then the Warriors begin their championship defense against the Lakers. That's why you see me with the Lake Show jersey on today. I'm excited. I love the NBA season. My favorite season of the year. This is prime, really prime sports season. MLB playoffs, NFL season, NBA kickoff. This is real prime sports season. We got the NHL out too. So really, if you're a sports fan, this is the perfect time for it. With that being said, let's get into the NBA just a smidge.
Just do it.
With the season kicking off. Danny, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I just want to know your answer and maybe a few reasons why.
Okay.
Who do you think is going to end the year with the best record in the league?
For me, and the Denver Nuggets. They are finally healthy. We're finally going to get to see this potential we've been hearing about for the past 5 or 6 years. We're finally going to see the Denver Nuggets as the one seed in the West. I know the past couple of years, especially before Jamal Murray got hurt, they top 3. They're flirting with the one seed. Jamal gets hurt, they just drop down to 5, and then they're bounced out in the first round of the playoffs. I really hope this year the Nuggets are healthy all year because that team can win a championship. I think they'll have the best record in the league.
Okay. I actually like the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
I think with Ben Simmons, with Sauce Kyrie Irving, you got obviously KD. I mean, this is a really, really good team. I think once they get fully healthy, they're going to be a threat. And I think anytime you give KD a little chip on his shoulder, you're going to do some things. So I like the Brooklyn Nets. All right.
Okay.
Who do you think is going to be the NBA MVP?
You already know this answer. I got Art hanging. I got to hang Art this weekend. Luka is coming in shape. He has looked great in preseason. He looked great playing Euro basketball. The past 2 years, the Dallas Mavericks had put themselves into massive holes and have to spend the second half of the season digging themselves out of the hole. I think this year Luka starts off on fire. He is the odds-on favorite to win MVP. His usage rate is going to be through the roof again because the Mavericks, for some reason, cannot find a legit secondary ball handler. That Luka's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of baskets. He's going to get a lot of attention. Luka Doncic is going to win his first MVP.
Shout out Luka. I think he could very well win the MVP. I'm going to be honest with you. This guy, these men, I'm going to say, it's because I have faith in them. Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, the two men who are playing over my shoulder tonight. Jason Tatum, I think, is going to be on a tear to prove, that shit that happened in the finals, that ain't happening again. I ain't playing that bad no more. No more. Like Birdman at the Breakfast Club. No more. But I also think Joel Embiid finally takes the two-step to overtake Jokic and really put together a season like we ain't seen. Joel Embiid, he could average like 35, 12, and 8. Something filthy.
Hey, I would love to see Joel get his first MVP because I believe he's been robbed the past 2 seasons.
Um, I think he has too. Thibs, B League asks, is Thibs going to stop disrespecting Obi Toppin this year and play him or not? I hope
He
so.
will not. He
I
will.
hope so.
Tibbs has proven when he does not like you, he does not like you, and he don't give a damn what you do.
Yeah, and he ain't no front office is gonna make him play you either. Who do you think is going to be the NBA Rookie of the Year?
I'm going Paola down in Orlando. There's not a lot. There's a
Happy
kid
rookie.
they drafted last year. What Jalen is it? Jalen?
Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, Jalen Suggs is there. I don't think we're going to see. I should know this guy's name. The other big guy they drafted from Florida State, the super religious
Jonathan
guy.
Isaac.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Isaac. We're going to see a lot of Paolo. We're going to see a lot of Markel Fultz. Magic team is going to be bad, but they're going to be feisty,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's
They're gonna
going
be
to
where
be
Memphis was a few years ago.
yeah.
Where they really
Memphis doing
figured it
Josh's
out.
second
I
year.
like Paulo too. Shout out to Paulo too, who just joined the Jordan family. So shout out Paulo.
Hey,
So all right. So we are in agreement there. What about the defensive player of the year?
Ben Simmons, come on down. One of the only men
Okay.
in this league not named Giannis who can guard the 1 through the 5. If anyone watches preseason basketball, Ben Simmons put Giannis in a chokehold the other night. Ben Simmons' back is healthy. I don't care if he can't shoot right now. I'm sure we'll talk about it throughout the season. But on the defensive side, he is going to get the team's best player, and Ben Simmons is athletic and skilled
Mhm.
enough to shut down anybody in the NBA. So Ben
Love
Simmons is my
that.
defensive player of the year.
I would love that for Ben. Shout out Ben. I actually like get this Joel Embiid to win Defensive Player.
Okay, I can get down with that too.
I think when I tell y'all, I really think Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum are going to have some years. I think Embiid's going to take a crazy step forward on the defensive end of the ball. I think it's gonna be a problem. Um, so in the chat, Kyle, who must be live watching the Celtics. Well, no, he said, "Oh look, Ben Simmons is still the dirtiest player in the NBA. What a surprise!" Oh man, I thought he was talking about the Celtics game behind this. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, Kyle.
Oh.
All right, Danny. Finals, and actually no, let's start with this one. What do you think will be the finals matchup this year?
This is going to be a little bit shocking. For me, it's going to be the Bucks. I think the Bucks won the championship last year. If Chris Middleton doesn't get hurt, I know Chris isn't playing for the first couple of weeks while his wrist heals. I think Giannis is more than talented enough to hold down the fort until Chris gets back and acclimated. So at the East, I have the Bucks, and then out of the West, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Listen, man, we have forgotten who Kawhi Leonard is. I know. It's reckless, but we said the same thing about the Raptors, and then Kawhi gets there and they win a championship. Kawhi is a game changer. Kawhi is top 3 when healthy. He is healthy. It looks like he's put on some more muscle for the season. Paul George is healthy. That team is absolute. That team is more loaded now than it was during the Lob City era, and that team could make it past the second round. But Tyronn Lue matters on the coaching. Like Kawhi is a problem, and the world is about to remember who Kawhi Leonard is.
All right. I like the Mavs and the Nets.
Don't play with me.
I
Do
like
not
them.
play with me tonight.
I think I think the Mavs are going to get to the Western Conference Finals, but they're not going to face the Warriors. And I think Luka is going to look at that as like, yo, I am about to put whoever I play in a fucking blender for 5 to 6 games. And I think they're gonna power themselves. Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie are gonna power the Mavs into the finals, and I
Don't
think
play
they're
with
gonna
me.
be matched up with the best team in the league, and what I believe will be the Brooklyn Nets. And I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to run through. I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to go on a playoff revenge tour, and I think they're going to play both the Celtics and the Sixers on the way to get into the finals. And I'm gonna tell you something. Whoo,
I'm here. I'm
whoo.
listening. Hey, you talking my language right now.
So, what's your finals matchup of the? You just said it.
Bucks Clippers.
Bucks Clippers. Who do you have the winner and the Finals MVP?
As great as Kawhi Leonard is, Giannis is one. Like when I say Kawhi is top three, Giannis is one. And you could talk about LeBron, Kawhi. You can talk about Steph Kawhi. You can even talk about Luka Kawhi.
Mm,
Giannis is one.
mm,
Giannis will win his second championship over the Clippers. And of course, that
mm.
means he is my finals MVP.
Okay. Okay. I don't even know if it's hard to tell y'all. I mean, if y'all can't tell where I'm about to go with this one. My finals
You
winner,
picking Luka?
Kevin Durant, will be the finals MVP as he leads the Brooklyn Nets to a championship. And when I tell y'all, I think I think this is going to be one of the most historic championship runs because I think the Nets are going to be healthy. They're going to figure some things out, and they are going to go on a run in the playoffs that we haven't seen before. And KD's going to spearhead it, and I can't wait to see it because I feel like KD's going to really talk his shit. I
I
feel like
hope he
KD
does.
has some tweets like bookmarked in case for when he wins another one, and he is going to get some shit off his chest. And Kyrie, I think if you win Stephen A. Smith, we might not hear from him for a couple of weeks. Let me say like that. Sounds like B League and Kyle are going at it. So B League said, "Does Draymond get more heat from the media for his dog shit on Poole if he wasn't signed to a TNT deal?"
So
Probably.
I'm going to go the reverse, and I think because of that TNT deal, he is getting more heat than he would if he were just a regular player. Like he's
Mm,
been running around talking about new media is here, new media is better than old media. We do things this way. Like you can't bark like that and then get caught punching your teammate in the face and then go hide and not say anything. So if anything, and I think the TNT crew, I think Barkley and Shaq would have no issues after a Warriors win saying, what were you thinking after? Like, I wouldn't be shocked if tomorrow morning, if you don't stay up to watch the Warriors game, if Draymond is interviewed after the game and Shaq and Chuck say, "Yo, what the hell were you thinking, punching your
yeah,
teammate like that?"
yeah,
Because that's what the whole TNT thing is about. It's about being real. Like that's their brand. Like I would not be shocked at all if Chuck and Shaq grilled him tonight if they went, if he gets on TV. What were you thinking? Why did you do that to your teammate?
I agree. And it's clear. It's clear. He's not a fan. He said, "Yo, that TNT special on Draymond was kind of cheesy. He was
Oh,
not feeling it.
Dan is on fire tonight.
He was not feeling it at all." Okay, let's get into our quick hitter section.
Let's do it.
Uh, we talked about it earlier. Broncos Chargers. Did any team really win that game?
Nope.
It
We
felt
didn't
like
win
America lost by watching that game.
because we did.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, let's get into college football. All right, so week 7, we saw some game. Tennessee versus Bama was a game.
The game.
TCU versus Oklahoma State was a game. USC versus Utah was a.
Game.
What are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts? Talk to me.
This might be one of the best college football seasons we've had in a very long time. There is no, like it's always been Bama is the Bama, Georgia are the dogs, and then it's everyone else. Georgia still won, but after that, there's so much parity, right? Michigan, I believe
It's
Michigan
Georgia.
is two. Georgia's at one, Ohio State's two, then it's Tennessee, and there's Michigan, and outside is Clemson, Bama, Ole Miss, and TCU. Like I feel like this is one of the rare seasons where anything can happen. Like any and the crazy thing is, we can still get a Bama Tennessee rematch in the SEC championship game if Bama runs the table and Tennessee beats Georgia either this week or
Mhm.
next week, right? Like we can get a rematch of this, and then you could have a one-loss Tennessee team that loses the SEC championship game and a one-loss Bama team that just lost to Tennessee, and then you'd have to put both in. So you could have a potential of a Tennessee Alabama in the college football playoff. I'm really
Tennessee,
disappointed
I'm
that you
I don't mean to cut you off.
you good.
Tennessee, I'm gonna say this: you don't want to play them again.
No, you don't. You do
You
not want to
don't.
play Bama again, but you're going to have to in the SEC championship game. Unless Ole Miss can beat Bama, which is possible, and Lane Kiffin will never let us forget that. Like if Bama runs the table, you're going to catch Tennessee again in the SEC championship game if Tennessee can take care of Georgia. But that's in Athens. So I don't know about that.
It's true. You don't have Vol Nation behind you. Um, let's for me, I want to talk a little bit more about USC and Utah.
So disappointing.
We listen, the Pac-12, y'all have been legit. We've been talking about the top 25 and specifically the Pac-12 and the representation in it. But I'm gonna say this: USC, UCLA, Oregon, Utah. It's like a fatal four-way match, really, to see who's gonna. I think the Pac-12 can get a team in, but I think it's going to be a one-loss team. So one team out of these four is going to have to show they are clear cut above the
Yeah.
rest.
And the only unbeaten is UCLA. So if UCLA can run the table, and that would include, I think UCLA still has to play everyone. I think UCLA still has to play.
Oregon is kind of undefeated simply because the team they lost to was just it's so it's because they lost to Georgia. It's almost like, okay, dog, we
So
just gonna
here,
wipe that one off because
so here,
we knew it was time.
that's true. I could see the committee forgiving that. Here's UCLA schedule: Saturday 3:30 at Oregon, then they at home against Stanford, at Arizona State, at home against Arizona, at home against USC, and then they're on the road at Cal. So we'll find out on Saturday. They play Oregon on Saturday, or UCLA is 9, Oregon is 10.
It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. What other week 8 games are you looking forward to?
I haven't really got a chance to look at the slate. UCLA Oregon's a big one for me. I just hope that the ABC night game is not Clemson because we've gotten Clemson 3 weeks in a row. I'm sick of seeing Clemson on Saturday night.
I think Clemson and Syracuse, which that game is a ranked matchup. I think
Okay.
that might be the mid afternoon game. That is honestly the game I'm actually very much looking forward to because curious to see how Syracuse wants to show up. This is probably the best defense they play all year, and man, Clemson defensive lineman has some NFL defensive linemen on it.
Oh,
It is,
thank God.
it is. Whew. Gator J said, "Thankfully, Florida is off."
Mm. No, Florida's playing Georgia this weekend, right?
No, I think that's next week they play in Jacksonville, right, Gator J?
Yes, that is next week. It looks like Georgia's off this week too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, let's shift it back to the NFL real quick.
Let's
So
do it.
I know that we were talking about the Carolina Panthers. We know they fired Matt Rule. We know that roster wise, they got some young talent. When you look at the landscape of the NFL and head coaches that might be in the hot seat, might be on the way out, where do you put the Carolina Panthers job in the list of potential or pretty soon to be vacant head coaching seats?
So again, Matt Rule's biggest mistake was he couldn't find a quarterback. He took a lot of bites of the apple and he missed. So if you have again a top 3 or top 5 pick, this is a quarterback class that could be special. You got Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, kid from Kentucky. I know there are a few other people in there. Like it's only going to be as attractive as that first round pick. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can find a way to finagle a second first round pick for Christian McCaffrey, and you walk through the door with 2 first round picks, one of those picks being top 5, preferably top 3, oh, that gets real attractive. If I get my hands on Bryce Young and y'all kept DJ Moore, I think now we talking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I look at it and I look at it from a macro standpoint. I say, all right, what's going on in Denver might be a
Yeah.
coaching change here fairly sooner than we think it is. That would be priority number one because you have a semi-washed quarterback and a lot of good wide receivers. Then I also look at what's going on in Arizona.
Yep.
Cliff has been here, but he might be in and over his head. He might be looking at some of these future Pac-12 and Big 12 openings, thinking his calling might be coming. Okay, that's another one. Chicago, everyone just looks lost. I don't even think it's going to be firing. I just wanted to say everyone looks lost. Um, and then we never know about what's really going to happen in Dallas. I still don't
Yes.
think Mike McCarthy's getting fired anytime soon, but you never know, right? So I look at it like that, and I say, okay, when I look at some of these other potential head coaching opportunities, what does Carolina have that these teams don't? And Christian McCaffrey, and then the list.
They have an easy division. Like the NFC South, there really isn't a juggernaut. Tampa Bay looks terrible.
We
Atlanta
say
looks
that,
okay. Atlanta's feisty.
yeah, we say that, but Tampa Bay's they're on the downtrend, but they're not terrible. To your point, Atlanta's not looking bad, and New Orleans has been in every game this season. They just can't pull out wins. So we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there's been a lot of good playoff baseball. Earlier
Yes.
today, the Yankees advanced to I think the conference series, I believe,
Yes.
to face the Houston Astros, and then the Phillies are going to be taking on the San Diego Padres, who took down the mighty Los Angeles Dodgers. Um, Winners of those series are going on to the World Series. I like the Padres, and to be honest with you, I like the Yankees. I think it's going to be a Padres Yankees World Series, but who knows?
Give me Phillies Yankees for 500, Alex.
That wouldn't be bad. The thing is with the Yankees, it's like this. If there would be a year that you want to win, it'd be this one because then it would justify really justify whatever money you're getting ready to pay Aaron Judge.
Yes.
And shout out Aaron Judge for betting on yourself, because boy, that's how you do it. That
And
is
your
how you
team
do
to yeah. That
it.
man.
No, go ahead.
No, I was like that man. That was a good bet.
Yeah. You want to get into some fantasy? I think we've both talked about the state of our teams. I'm kind of fed up with. I'm fed up with the Packers right now. I want to talk fantasy. Give me some.
Let's
Give me something
do
on a
it.
high note. So, I've been looking at fantasy. So I told you I'm in 5 leagues, and over the course of week 6, I went 3-2 across 5 leagues, and this is technically my worst week of the season so far. Um, but I put out some very, very big wins. So let's start. You want to start with the redraft, or do you want to start with the dynasty?
Whatever floats your boat.
Let's start with redraft since
Okay.
we're here. And I don't know if you noticed, but the Miami Luchadors, they unveiled a new logo earlier
Oh,
today.
did they? I missed that. Let me
Yes,
see.
yeah, I unveiled the new logo for the team. Felt like we're trying to take the direction of the team in a positive direction, considering that my team's on a 3-game winning streak. Danny,
Hey.
a 3-game winning streak. I pulled out a close one over the defending champ from last year, Danny, and then I see you as well, keeping your win streak at 4 alive.
Yes.
So that leaves us, Danny, in this 10-team PPR league. Me and you are tied at the top of the NFC at 4-2.
Yep.
How about that?
Uh, if you would have talked to me 4 weeks ago, I was ready to have a fire sale. I was afraid that I was going to end last in this league. And again, for those who don't know, if the person who finishes in last place in this league either has to pay half of the winner's dues the following season, or they have to leave like the Premier League. And I didn't feel like doing either. So D, according, he told me to stay the course, keep it steady, and I have. And I feel really good. I have a 91% chance of making the playoffs. I think I'm the third highest scorer in the league. So I just want to stay within striking distance because the leading scorer, he's got to come back down to earth at some point, and I want to make sure that I am within striking distance when that does happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's about to go through a series of bye weeks. This week, the Bills are on a bye, which is big for him because he doesn't even have a
Yes,
backup quarterback with Josh Allen.
which is
Um,
crazy.
so, yeah, I mean, my team. I mean, we're just finding ways to pull out wins and stay competitive. I mean, this is the team, led by Justin Herbert, who's out there battling kind of a nifty rib. But I also have Keenan Allen, Gabe Davis, Jay Jettas, and Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin, and Chris Olave. So I've been trying to do some trade talks to move Gabe Davis to hopefully get a running back and or tight end, but it's been kind of hard making moves. But Danny, we're at the top of the NFC, so I mean, we don't meet again in this league until week 12. So I feel like
It's gonna be a while.
it could be a long road, but they could be a big one to determine a first round bye. You want to get into our Dynasty League. We got Gator J here who says Danny gets to talk shit to me tonight because he is 0-2 versus the co-host of this show. Darn,
Damn.
darn, darn, Gator J. Danny, I will pull up the weekly report. I'm gonna
Yep.
let everyone know that after starting out 5-0, the
You really
last
ran the table.
team has lost. Yes, my team lost the game. Not by much either. Not by much either. But a loss is a loss. But let's walk through the weekly report. So the best team in the league, that Cali kid with 170 points. Shout out to that man. That's some points. Worst team, Team Senra says at 108.28. Kyle. Oh man. All right. Most efficient manager. We got Bam. Shout out Bam. 143 with Max at 151. Not bad. Least efficient manager was Rojo Truther. I mean, whoa. 70 points he left on his bench. Highest points in loss, Greg at 135.9, losing to 142.7. That's unfortunate. That's also the lowest points in a win, as you can imagine. Kyle, glad you're here. You were involved in the biggest blowout, 170.1 to 108.2. Lord have mercy. Danny, you were the overachiever. You were projected 138. You scored 146.
Shout out Mike Gesicki.
Shout out. Kyle was projected 141 and scored 108.2, and he is the underachiever of the week. Standings, I am still at the top of the overall standings with my first loss of the season. I had a 2-game lead that bumps down to a 1-point lead. And now my scoring title also kind of decreased from last week as well. But it's early in the season. We got a lot of games left to be played. Shout out Gator J, who is now 5th in the standings. Shout out Bam, who is 9th. Who else is in here? Shout out Kyle, who is 10th in the standings. Danny, you are 7th after your win. So
There are 1, 2, 3. There are 4 teams that are 3-3 right now. So only 3 teams in this league that are above 500. Kind of crazy.
Only 3. Man, this is a competitive league, and I like it. I like it. I like what's going on in this league. I think we got something. All right, Danny, we got a speak to us question.
We got a question this week.
All right, so Danny, let me read the question. This user also wanted to remain anonymous. Of course, we're gonna respect your anonymity here on the Speak to Us, Speak on It podcast during our Speak to Us segment. So here's the question. With the recent public comments from LeBron James regarding Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it almost seems as if there have been it almost seems as may have been previous public comments made by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar about Bron that he hasn't really appreciated. This brings me to my question. Do you think legends from previous eras show love to the current legends to an extent because they are sometimes afraid of their legacy being lost and forgotten? And this is not specific to sports at all. Thank you for your thoughts.
Let me go first.
Go ahead, my brother.
So I don't know if Kareem has said anything about LeBron in particular, but I know Kareem has gone after Kyrie over the past year, and I know Kyrie and LeBron are close. I will say that legends tend to have some sort of hateration or holleration when it comes to the younger generation because, again, across all phases of life, the older generation thinks that they had it harder than the previous generation. Kareem has won the scoring title and has held on to the scoring title, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has only hit 1 3-pointer his entire career, right? So like, and I'm sure in his mind's like, oh, I got it the hard way. Like LeBron's been able to shoot threes, and again, this is all speculative. There's nothing like really but I think that's normal, right? Like me as someone who is getting older, I see young people working in my industry, and I'm like, man, you got it easy. When I came out of college, X, Y, Z, right? And it's just natural to compare, and it's natural to have a little bit of hate when you do that because why? Because it's sort of like self pity, like why was my road
Mhm.
harder than this person's? And as you get older, you start to see that and you start to understand. Doesn't make it right. Kareem could stop being a hater and just enjoy it, but
Right,
like I kind of get it.
right. I think, and I completely agree with you. I think to build off that, I think as a legend, there could be some envy in the fact that a standard that you have set is being
Yes.
surpassed. But you have to look at it in a way that you have to remember you set the standard. And I think, and again, this I'm glad they let this comment be known that it's not sports specific because I think this is applicable to all aspects of life. I think when people achieve a good amount of success, when you achieve success and you're able to set standards in whatever field or curriculum that may be, you don't ever in the moment think about someone ever surpassing it because you are the standard. But that's why standards are meant to be set, and that's why records are meant to be set because there's always like how far can we really push this sport and greatness in this sport to the next level? Whether that's sports, whether that's education, whether that's science and STEM, how can we push this and continue to be forward to move it forward? And I think legends struggle with it because it's like a dim in their light. Like,
Yes.
and I think with Kareem, it's like, no, brother, you gotta really when we think about this record that LeBron's about to pass, we think about it's taken seeing this dude go through hell for 20 years. The
21. This is your
21 years,
21.
21 years to break this record. Kareem, you did it without having to shoot a three. So now we have to look at you in the light that we're looking at him. We also have to look at you and say, yo, look at this route that he had to take when he did it. You know what I'm saying? It's both still are hard routes. Both still are hard routes. So I definitely think their legacy has something to do with it. But sometimes I think legends be some haters. And I think
Yes.
some of you young bulls, y'all don't be showing these legends the proper due respect. So start paying legends respect. Legends start paying these young bulls respect. And whatever field it is, let's come together to push that field forward.
It's a great way to end it.
Danny, where can the people find you, man? Let's wrap this thing up, man. This is a great show.
First and foremost, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, speakonit_pod. Send us your questions, speakonitpod14@gmail.com. As you can see, we will answer them. They're very thoughtful answers. So again, send your questions our way, speakonitpod14@gmail.com. You can find me on the Bird app at DannyOcean41. D, take us home.
Man, as Danny said, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you find us on socials. Find us at speakonit_pod. Make sure you send your questions to speakonitpod14@gmail, as Danny said. Make sure you follow your boy at Los D Mix. That's at LOSDEEMIX on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I'm here. The tunes I want to get us out to today. I'm feeling mad Beyonce-ish.
Yo, I listened to Cuff It earlier today on repeat for like an hour.
I'm glad you mentioned that because my brother, that's what I wanna that's what I want to get us out of here too.
Sounds good.
People, it's always a blessing to be here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you was here with us, and we appreciate it and we love it. We'll be back. Not next week, actually.
Yeah, we're
We are
off
on
next week.
vacation next week. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Remember, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Much love.
Peace.